The world changed in a single night. September 10th, 2025. 19 Russian drones crossed into Poland's airspace without warning. This was not a mistake. It was a clear provocation aimed at testing NATO. Polish commanders saw the red alerts flashing on their screens. The order was given: scramble the jets now. Within minutes, the sky over Poland began to transform. Polish F-16s lifted off like arrows from hidden bases. Dutch F-35s cut sharp lines across the early dawn. British Typhoons roared into formation, engines at full power. Suddenly, a NATO shield covered the skies above Poland. It was strong, it was fast, and it was unbreakable. For the people of Poland, fear gripped their hearts. But so did pride, because this time they were not alone. For Russia, the move backfired with shocking speed. What began as a small incursion had triggered NATO's biggest response in decades. And for Europe, one chilling question rose from the silence. Is this the closest step to open war since World War II? This is the story of how the United States shocked Russia, and how Poland changed overnight. The night of September 10th, 2025 began like any other in Poland. Families were at home, the streets were calm, and the border seemed secure. Then in the dark, something unseen crossed into the country. 19 Russian drones slipped over the eastern line. Each one carried the shadow of conflict. Some flew deep, others circled near the border towns. In seconds, Polish radars lit up with flashing alarms. The air defense screen screamed a single truth: intrusion. Prime Minister Donald Tusk was briefed within minutes. His words cut through the night like fire. He called it the closest to open conflict since World War II. And in those words, Europe felt the gravity of history. Civilians in the east heard the low rumble of explosions. Windows rattled, alarms echoed, and fear spread quickly. At airports, flights were grounded without delay. The threat of more drones forced Poland to close skies. Across the country, panic turned into whispers of war. People remembered stories told by their grandparents, stories of 1939. Now, for the first time in decades, that fear felt real. The streets emptied, the sirens grew louder, and the nation held its breath. But while the public waited, the military moved fast. Jets were readied, missiles armed, and NATO was alerted. This was not just a border incident, it was a test of resolve. The world wanted to know how far Poland would go, and more importantly, how far NATO was willing to go. The answer would not take days. It would not even take one night. Within hours, the response began to rise. But how exactly did NATO answer this sudden challenge? The world did not wait long to see NATO's answer. The night of incursion had barely ended when the response began. On the morning of September 11th, 2025, NATO moved without hesitation. The Polish government invoked Article 4 of the NATO Treaty. That call meant one thing: urgent consultations for the alliance. Within hours, NATO's most powerful leaders were on secure lines. The question was no longer if, but how to respond. Secretary General Mark Rutte gave the message to the world. Russia's move was reckless and unacceptable. He declared NATO would strengthen defenses without delay. From that meeting came a new operation with a sharp name. It was called Operation Eastern Sentry. Unlike simple monitoring, this mission meant permanent air policing. Jets would not just fly to show presence. They would fly to engage if necessary. Polish F-16s stayed in the sky around the clock. Dutch F-35s expanded patrol routes into Polish airspace. British Typhoons locked radars on every eastern approach. French Rafales took positions to block any surprise entry. And from above, Italian AWACS planes scanned day and night. A shield of machines now covered Poland like never before. For many, the twist was not what NATO said. It was what NATO did. These jets did not only guard the border with Ukraine, they circled deep inside Poland, engines hot and ready. That meant NATO was no longer just watching. It was preparing to fight if the line was crossed again. For Russia, this was a signal louder than words. The age of half measures was over. Every mile of Polish sky was now a fortress. But one reality remained clear for the entire alliance. This mission was not like the old patrols. It was something far more dangerous. A new shield rose over Poland, and this time it would not leave. From September 13th to 15th, 2025, NATO announced a mission without pause. It was called Continuous Air Policing, a guard in the sky that never sleeps. UK Typhoons lifted off in rotating waves. French Rafales cut long arcs across Poland's horizon. Dawn brought new tankers to fuel the fighters. Every night brought new patrols circling along the border. For the first time since the Cold War, dozens of NATO jets filled Polish airspace. The message to Russia was written in steel and noise. Every turn of the engine said, "Cross this line, and you will face us all." For Moscow, the sudden sight was overwhelming. What began as a single drone flight now faced a wall of warplanes. Dozens of jets, radars, and tankers were staring east every single day. Russian planners had to recalculate every step, every test, every move. The eastern border of Poland was no longer open. It was a fortress of the sky. But as strong as the patrols were, there was a hidden truth. Planes could chase drones, but they could not always stop them. A drone flying low, hidden under the radar, could still slip through. The air shield was powerful, but it was not perfect. And that weakness left a haunting question for NATO commanders. If the skies were guarded, how would Poland defend the ground? A new layer of defense appeared in Poland, and this time it came from the ground. In September 2025, the Netherlands deployed 2 full Patriot batteries. Along with the launchers came nearly 300 Dutch troops. They rolled into Poland with convoys of trucks, radars, and command posts. The order was clear: protect the skies, no matter the cost. But the Dutch were not alone in this mission. Germany and Denmark had already placed their own Patriot systems along the Baltic line. Together, these deployments created a wall of missiles and radars stretching across the eastern flank. The image was unlike anything Europe had seen in decades. Above, Typhoons circled with their engines screaming. On the ground, Patriot batteries pointed upward, locked and ready. At sea, frigates with missile launchers kept watch over Baltic waters. It was a multi-layered shield designed to cover every angle of attack. If a drone tried to sneak low, a Patriot missile could find it. If a bomber tried to strike high, a fighter jet could intercept. If a ship threatened from the coast, a frigate could destroy it. For the people of Poland, the sight was both terrifying and reassuring. Terrifying because it showed how real the threat had become. Reassuring because it proved NATO was now committed on every level. Every mile of Poland was guarded by air, land, and sea. For Russia, this was a warning drawn in firepower. Every move forward would now mean facing not one weapon, but an entire system of defenses. The night of drones had turned into a fortress of steel, but the greatest change was yet to come, because Poland itself was about to transform faster than anyone expected. A new army of steel was rising in the heart of Europe. By 2024, Poland had already begun building the largest tank force on the continent. The goal was clear: create a wall of armor powerful enough to stop any invasion. By 2030, Poland is set to field more than 1,100 modern tanks. This force includes K2 Black Panthers from South Korea, the latest in speed and firepower. It adds hundreds of M1A2 Abrams from the United States, proven on battlefields worldwide. And it keeps dozens of Leopard 2A5 and 2A6 tanks from Germany, upgraded and ready. Together, these machines form a striking mix of technology and firepower. The scale is unmatched anywhere else in Europe. Every delivery convoy brought fresh waves of armored power. Polish soldiers trained day and night to master the machines. Now, entire columns of tanks stand positioned near Kaliningrad. Engines growl in the forests, turrets fixed on the horizon. For Russia, that view is impossible to ignore. Kaliningrad, once seen as Moscow's dagger in Europe, is now surrounded by steel. For Poland, it is both protection and transformation. The memory of 1939, when cavalry faced tanks, has been erased. Now, Poland holds the strongest armored army in Europe's modern history. Each tank is not just metal. It is a promise that Poland will never be defenseless again. Columns of armor stretch across the roads like rivers of iron. Every movement is a message to Moscow. Poland is no longer vulnerable, but Poland's buildup was never meant to stop at tanks. Because armor alone cannot shape a battlefield. What Poland needed next was real strike power, the ability to hit back hard and fast. A new weapon entered Poland's arsenal, and it could strike far beyond the border. By 2024, Poland had begun deploying HIMARS rocket launchers from the United States. Soon after, they added Chunmoo rocket systems from South Korea. Both systems carried a deadly purpose: hit deep, hit fast, and hit hard. The HIMARS could fire precision rockets across hundreds of kilometers. The Chunmoo added heavy firepower with dozens of guided rounds. Together, they created a reach that Poland had never possessed before. For the first time, Polish rockets could target enemy staging zones inside Russia and Belarus. No longer was Poland only defending its skies. Now it could strike hundreds of kilometers into hostile territory. Every border base, every supply depot, every command post could be destroyed in minutes. This changed the balance overnight. Russian planners had always relied on building pressure near the frontier. But with HIMARS and Chunmoo in Polish hands, those plans collapsed. Any unit massing close to Poland's border was suddenly a target. What once felt safe for Russia was now exposed. The crosshairs had shifted straight onto their forward units. For Poland, this was more than weapons. It was a declaration that the country would no longer wait to be attacked. The ability to strike first gave Poland a new confidence. Soldiers trained tirelessly, rehearsing live launches across hidden fields. Every exercise echoed a single message. Poland could hit back immediately. For Moscow, this was a dangerous twist. The threat was no longer theoretical. It was staring them in the face. Columns of armor could be shattered. Supply lines could be cut. Even command posts could vanish before the battle began. But rockets alone could not complete the transformation. Something else had changed overnight. Something even more permanent. A different kind of battlefield was also being built inside Poland. By 2024, the government launched a $760 million cyber shield program. This move came after Russia's fake mobilization messages spread panic on Polish phones. The new system meant attacks like that would never pass unnoticed again. Every hack attempt was traced. Every false alert was blocked in seconds. Russia's old tricks of fake news and cyber hacks now faced a wall. That wall was made of firewalls, digital sensors, and instant exposure. For years, Poland had been vulnerable to disinformation campaigns. Rumors once spread fast, dividing people, creating fear. But now the same country had become a digital fortress. Schools taught citizens how to spot propaganda. Networks were hardened, and every fake headline faced fact checks. What once caused chaos now collapsed within minutes. For the people, this was not just security, it was confidence. Confidence that the truth would not be stolen again. And for Russia, the shock was greater than any missile. Because Poland had closed the door on hybrid warfare itself. But what hidden truth makes this overnight change truly shocking for Russia? A truth now hangs over Poland that cannot be ignored. Operation Eastern Sentry is not a drill. It is a standing tripwire. Every NATO jet circling Poland carries more than missiles. It carries the weight of the entire alliance. Every Patriot battery standing alert is more than defense. It is a promise that the first strike will not be Poland's to bear alone. Every Polish tank near Kaliningrad does more than guard. It signals that an attack on one is an attack on all. This is the hidden secret. What once was theory is now reality. Article 5, long written on paper, now lives in daily deployments. The alliance no longer waits for signatures or speeches. It waits only for a single hostile action to trigger automatic escalation. For Russia, the meaning is clear. One mistake could light the fuse of a wider war. And for Europe, the lesson is sharper than ever. So what does this reveal about the future of the continent? The United States did not simply defend Poland. It turned Article 5 from paper into something visible, permanent, undeniable. What looked like a small drone incursion became something far larger. It triggered NATO's strongest posture since the Cold War itself. The lesson was clear. Modern war can be redrawn in a single night. From silence to sirens, from calm to chaos. Europe changed forever on September 10th to 11th, 2025. The fear of Poland became the fear of Europe. The pride of Poland became the strength of NATO. This was the moment Russia was truly shocked. This was the night Poland changed overnight. And one thought now lingers for the world. If drones can cause this, what will the next test bring? From a single drone wave to a wall of NATO power, Poland is no longer just a front line. It has become a fortress, layered with jets, missiles, tanks, and cyber shields. The silence of September 10th turned into the roar of a united alliance. We traced every step of this sudden shift. The incursion that broke the calm. The shield of Eastern Sentry that never sleeps. The tanks massing near Kaliningrad. The rockets reaching deep into Russian ground. And the hidden secret of Article 5 made real for the first time. This is the story of a country transformed in days, And this is why Russia was left stunned. Subscribe now for more untold stories reshaping the world's front lines. But tell us, will NATO's new shield stop Russia, or is the real storm still to come?